Friends, welcome back to the NRCHA. We're here at the world's greatest horseman. We're in Fort Worth, Texas, right here on the grounds of the Will Rogers Memorial Center. And I am excited to be here with our special guest today, Emily Kent. My name is Farron Lucero with EQN Sports, your source for horse sports. Emily, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's, we got to talk a little bit before we got up here and kind of found out a little bit about you. You're out of Jacksboro, Texas. Did you grow up in this industry? Kind of tell us a little backstory.
Yes, sir. So I actually grew up in Indiana, and my parents used to haul me down to Texas to ride with Chris and Sarah Dawson when I was just a little kid. Stole their bridle horses from them and just took the world by storm.
That's incredible. It's important. My granddad used to tell me about how important it is about who you hung around. How did you find the Dawsons? Did your parents, how did that come together?
You know, my dad found Chris and then took me to ride with him, and Chris said, "This little kid's special. Let me have a go at her." So,
isn't that interesting? Was there anything else that you were into, and how old were you at this point?
Man, I was probably like 7 years old, I would have to think, and
your parents were committed.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I grew up showing ranch horses and everything like that, but not big into the NRCHA, and so they got some horses and they were into it, and so I just stole their horses.
They saw something special in this kid, because if that was 7 years old, in 2022, you ran around in the victory lap as the world's greatest youth horseman.
Yes, sir.
So how many years removed was that from the time that you got with the Dawsons to the time that you won that world title?
Not many. I mean, I was still with Chris during that whole time, and he helped me get that horse ready and everything like that for the world's greatest.
What was that feeling like to run? I mean, you put in so much time. How much time and effort do you put into this on a weekly basis?
Every day. I mean, I train for a living now, so every single day, 7 days a week, 24/7, we're out there. Whether right now it's breaking ice and making sure they all have hay and feed and healthy and happy.
So, like anything else, though, we have this love and passion for things, and at times it can just turn into a job. How do you center yourself back into something that says, "No, this is my passion. This is what I love to do"? How do you kind of maybe refocus?
I mean, love for the horse, honestly, overall, and it does get tough, and I get to hurting and not loving my job 100% of the time. But at the end of the day, we get that adrenaline rush when we get to go show these horses, so I think that's really it. Nobody likes to do the dirty work every single day, but you have to.
Yeah, it's just something that's part of it. And, let's take a look at that run. Let's reminisce just a little bit.
Sir.
This was, the horse was Call Me Mister.
Yes, sir.
All right. Break this run down for us.
So, Big Charlotte calf came out here, wanted to run a little bit, and I just said, you know what? There's not a time like the present, so I might as well just roll with it. This horse is fast. This horse is good, and he's with me every step of the way.
How fun is that?
Oh, so fun.
Is that an adrenaline rush? I've never done anything that cool.
Yes, sir. It sure is, and I almost got myself into a little mess right there, but I asked him for his life, and he sure enough gave it. I couldn't even hear out there. It was so loud, and it was just me and that horse out there. And I think it really shined that day how passionate I am about it and how much that horse really loved me and wanted to work for me.
Well, both of you got your teeth gritted and your ears pinned back. What did that feel like right there? I mean, everything, obviously you were in that, you knew things were going your way.
Yes, sir.
Did you go in there with a lead? How did this work out?
Yes, sir. So I did go in there with the lead.
Okay.
I think I was like 5 points ahead or something like that. So I knew I didn't have to be huge, but in typical fashion of that horse, he was going to go big or go home.
Yeah.
And, that horse, I never roped on him before entering the Youth World's Greatest. So that being his first outing, being roped off of big time, and the pin was pretty cool for him.
Well, that's great. And then the next year, you're the 2023 High School Rodeo Cow Horse Reserve Champion. In 24, the Celebration of Champions World Champ on radio.
Yes, sir.
What's cool is when a person's successful once, but then sustains success.
Yes, sir.
What is that secret look like? What is that little mix?
Man, so that on the radio horse, we call him Conway, and my parents bought him for me as a gift. They were actually going to go look at another yearling, and they sold the yearling while they were on their way, and so they said, please just come and look at this other yearling, and he's just big, stud colt, big bald face, and he just really stuck out to my mom, and it was crazy when I went to pick him up. Like, he tried to kick me in the stall, and like he jumped out of round pins.
Well. Yeah.
And I tell you what, when I started that horse, like, he was just absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
He was so terrible. And then one day, he actually got his foot caught in a fence, and to that day, he ran to me in that pasture because he had his foot sliced open, and he's like a baby now.
He's your horse.
Yes, sir. From that day on.
He's like, you got me, I got you.
Yeah, I throw little kids up on him. Like, you can ride him forwards, backwards, sideways, whatever you want to do.
Isn't that interesting how that ends up being? It's one of those, and it is about the horse, and you got to kind of jive with the horse and vibe with the horse, but it's something to have one act like that.
Yes, sir.
And then all of a sudden, he's like, well, he's going to pick you, and you're going to pick him, and here we are.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. Now, kind of tell us what you're doing these days. Obviously, you're transitioning up into, is it a non-pro trainer, a pro trainer? What do you got going?
Yes, sir. So I was a non-pro.
Okay.
What some would consider a professional non-pro. I trained my own horses, not going to a trainer and having them train them, and I was showing them. So when I turned my non-pro card in, I just decided, it's time. I'm going to do what I've always loved to do, and that's train horses.
Yeah.
So when I turned my card in, it was like a little bit of a moment,
Because it's a status change, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's time. It's a little different.
Yes, sir. Because I believe I was like 19 when I turned it in. So I started showing, and there for a while I showed, and then I got hurt. So I had to stick, I think, a year and a half out pretty much, and I've been back since August showing now.
Now tell us about that. It's obviously you got all this stuff going, you're blowing and going, and then out of the blue, life happens, right? There's an injury that comes up. Can you speak to that injury and kind of what you've done to say, all right, that was a setback, get ready for the comeback?
Yes, sir. So absolutely. So when I won the Youth World's Greatest, I won it with a torn ACL in my right leg. And after I went to the high school rodeo finals, I decided, you know what, I'm going to have the surgery and have it fixed. Right. Well, they always say once you have one surgery, you're going to just keep having them. So kind of a downward spiral from there. And I came back from that injury and was showing a little bit, and then got into a little mess with a horse and hurt my back real bad. So then I went to having back surgeries and come back from that. And then I think 6 weeks after my first back surgery, I was finally back going down the fence again. Broke my leg, had a horse fall. So, yes,
just
sir.
One after the other.
Yeah.
And this is time. I mean, this is time out of the saddle now, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I spent, a whole 3 months on crutches, non-weight bearing with my leg. And then once they started letting me walk again, I had to have another back surgery. So,
incredible. So, and how long was this? Is this in the span of, I guess, 2 years, 3 years?
That was summer before last.
Okay.
Is when that happened. And the World Show this time, last year was my first ever show back. I won the youth on the radio with plates and screws in my legs. In March, I had them taken out, and I've been back ever since then.
So let's talk about your tenacity, okay? Because it's one of those deals, it's like, okay, I broke my leg. Now my back, an ACL. How do you keep that in your mind of saying that's just what happened, and how do you keep pushing forward into something and not hold back?
Yes, sir. It's hard because I had to change pretty much my whole program. I went from the kid that was winning everything and not scared of one thing to be like, oh, shoot, I don't necessarily ride quite like I used to. And just build that stuff back. You know, I've been in PT for 2 years now. Yeah. And I have a great physical therapist, and he even sponsors me now and everything like that. But just your team and knowing what you can and can't do.
It's important to have that circle, right? You have those people around you that say, no, you can. Hey, I know you're ouchy here, but give it all you got. You have more gas. You have more to give. Who's around you that you really appreciate, that you can always kind of call on, or is it a mentor? Is it family? How do you surround yourself?
Yeah, you know, my parents are the best help,
Yeah.
honestly, because they've been there every step of the way
Yeah.
and held my hand as I was getting rolled back to the OR and stuff like that. And Chris and Sarah mainly, too.
Yeah.
You know, Chris has a similar back issue that I have, and he was the first person I called when I found out, what do I do about this? Where do I go? We even go to the same back doctor that does
Right.
our injections and stuff like that. So people like that understand it and
Absolutely.
understand I can't do exactly what other people can do. And somebody my age, 21 years old, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I have to be a little more refined.
So tell us about your goals. You're coming in here, your lifetime earnings right now, just over $71,000. You're putting all this together. Kind of lay out the next year, 2 years for us.
Absolutely. So I'm coming into this World Show with an amazing group of horses. Super happy with that. I'll be shown on the radio, The Gambler, a horse called Back in the Blue, and Mia Metallic Queen. So I'm super thankful for my great clients that do trust in me,
Right.
and as young as I am, giving me the go-ahead to show their horses. But I'm ready to go for this whole run for a million deal. You know,
Yeah.
I have 3 great bridle horses.
Yeah.
And they are top notch, so I'm excited to start running for that.
Well, you know, there's one thing I always like to bounce back on, and it's the 5 P's to success, where prior preparation prevents poor performance. And just talking to you, just seeing how you are and the way you talk, Emily, I'm a fan already myself, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, great job. Thank you for joining us, folks. This is Emily Kent out of Jacksboro, Texas. Going to be competing. You can be watching right here on NRCHA. Be sure to find that webcast. You don't want to miss this young lady right here. Emily, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. My name is Farron Lucero with EQN Sports, your source for horse sports.